is started. Welcome everyone to our first gathering on this platform, WebEx. And I don't know if we're going to keep using it. It has some little functionalities about it that I'm not sure that I want to keep. So we will definitely be on this platform this week, and then I may send a notification out to everyone to move over to a Zoom link if the functionality may be better over at Zoom. And I have an account over there also, so we might try that as another functionality. I happen to like this platform because it works very well for Rupert, but there must be some kind of option that I'm not aware of that you can have that allows you to control the mics better. Like that, Bill, whatever you're doing in the background, can you mute your mic, please? We're hearing you. Not sure. Let me go to, and okay, I see Bill. Bill Churchman, I think that's Bill Churchman. Welcome. I met you in Stony Point, New York, you and Irene, and I think that's who you are. But welcome everyone to our first study group. There have been a lot of people register for this, being aware of being aware. And there's Kimberly Cartwright is going to be joining with us a little bit late. She texted me a few minutes ago. You still have an echo, Arthur? Arthur's telling me that there's an echo. Can you tell me if there's an echo? Is anyone else having that experience?
No echo, Bill.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. So I'm going to need your support, everyone, to just help me to, okay, Arthur said it's gone. Thank you for your support in making this seem seamless. Technology seems to have this on every platform, have some form of thing going on that we just need to be aware of. And having said that, this book study is such a great book. I can't believe it's all packed into this little thing right here. Being aware of being aware. And I'm going to invite everyone to just pause for a moment. Let's do what we are. Let's be aware. Just relax into this moment of being aware. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I'm happy to be part of this, the host of this book study. It would not happen without you. And I want to give a special thank you for the different presenters that have agreed to share as co-hosts with me for this book study. And as a disclaimer, I don't feel that I'm like, because this is my book study, I'm just the guy that's willing to do the shout outs, to do the notifications, to have the platforms for it, but I don't feel that I'm any more qualified than any of you, and I'm grateful to have each of you equally as a participant on this book club that we're doing pure presence really says it all. We are in the experience and the exploration and then the knowing of ourself as being, as awareness itself. And it's such a refreshing opening. Oh my God, it is so refreshing to have this knowing experience that God is as close to me, what I've always felt or I've always kind of had an interest in, which is God, and then Jesus, and the different traditions of a universe, a world, a realm that's not of this world, that's not of form, it's not made up of matter. I always thought that might be true, and now I know, as you all do, that it is true, and that God is as close to me as being aware of being aware. It can be found right there in being aware of being aware. And what a beautiful revelation that is, that we have the access point to holiness itself. Isn't that awesome? And so thank you all for joining me in this way where we can talk about these things and we can share in the content of this amazing teacher's writings. My teacher and your teacher, Rupert Spira, he's one of my teachers. I have many. He is the most, I am hooked onto him. I'm hooked onto his wagon pretty solidly. I'm going to see him again for the 4th retreat in San Francisco next month. I'm looking forward to that. And if anyone else is going to the Mercy Center retreat, I'll meet you there. I met many beings there about 2 years ago, my first retreat, and had a beautiful time there. And I met many of you there. Malcolm, you'll be there. Good to see you, brother. And I met many of you on the Garrison retreat. Some of you are here for the first time because it came out in Rupert's newsletter a few days ago. Thank you, Rupert and Ruth and Francesca, for allowing me and this platform to be in the newsletter, because it just is making it available for others. And this isn't to support anything except to open the channels up for others to come and join in the sharing of the truth as represented by Rupert's teachings. And I'm not sure what next book we'll use. If he's got a part 2 of this, it could be that, or it could be Jein, Klein, it could be anybody, but it's going to be similar. That's our interest. Catherine, could you mute your mic, please? Thank you. And if anyone that just came into the broadcast has their mic open, please mute it. And I want to give a warm welcome to everyone of Freedom, also known as Kimberly in our other broadcasts, but please refer to her as Freedom. She represents and embodies freedom. She is free, and she is she's like a spokesperson and an embodiment of what the symbol of freedom means. This is the symbol of freedom. Kimberly is a symbol of freedom, and her new name and reference is Freedom. Welcome to our book study, Freedom, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. Everyone, mute your mic when you come into the room, please. Yeah. Freedom, are you there?
Sorry. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, great.
You are.
I'm hearing somebody else talking right now, but
I know. That's going to happen.
So thank you, Bill, and thank you, everybody. I'm so excited, Bill, that this is the passion of your heart, and that you're following this passion. And as I love, when I speak especially in this context with you and all of us who love consciousness and who enjoy the way in which it's spoken through Rupert Spira. When I'm with all of you, I will say something and then I'll often hear the Rupert Spira version of what I'm saying. So what I'm hearing, the Rupert Spira version of what I'm saying is that, yes, Bill Free is passionate about these teachings, and consciousness is calling Bill Free, this body-mind, it's calling itself through the body-mind Bill Free. And indeed, consciousness is calling itself come home through each of us. It's through everyone and everything. And the way it looks for those of us present on this call right now is that we're aware of being aware. And so we're kind of in awareness that we're answering this call that's coming through us. It's not that any of us made it happen, or we didn't orchestrate this, and we didn't do special things to deserve this. We're called, and we're answering the call, and this is what it feels like and what it looks like for these particular body minds at this time. And I particularly love that because it both feels like grace, it is grace, and it also relieves the ego or it relieves any sense of specialness. So therefore, I don't mean I'm not responsible. I'm responsible, but I'm not responsible. So I don't have to measure up to something or live up to something. My function is more to just be the allowing space, and to, when I feel, to respond to the feelings that I'm feeling. And that kind of leads me step by step, deeper and deeper into a relationship, a conscious relationship with consciousness. So thank you for being just a light and a leader. It helps when you look around and you can see what appears to be other people taking bold action. And I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this particular body mind is really enjoying, I'm really aware of how powerful saying thank you is. Because it's a quality of consciousness, to appreciation, right? That the feeling of fullness is such a quality of consciousness. I try to say thank you as much as I possibly can in any opportunity I take, because that's another way of just aligning, acknowledging my reality, and just being, like being on a little floaty thing, just floating, just enjoying the motion of the energy. So all right. So Bill, how do you want to do? Do you want me to just start?
Well, thank you.
What do you think?
Freedom.
Yeah.
Just everyone. I love all of you.
Yeah.
This is totally true. And all we have to do is meet one time and just connect. And if you see me on the path, please come up and feel and let me know who you are. And this one that we call Freedom, she is an amazing witness and expression of someone that is a lover of truth, like all of you who came in here. And Freedom, thank you for being our first co-host. And the way I'd like to start this is just, first of all, I'm the host, but I'm opening this up for you to kind of serve the essence of the content in the introduction from your perspective, your experience. What are the nuggets that you think that you saw, that you found in the actually the introduction? I almost left it out, and then when I went back and read it, I went, holy crap, this needs to be first.
Yeah.
So start with the Sufi saying, and then move into the material, and tell us what you think about the introduction.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Just before I got on the call, I reread the Sufi saying. Now, where did it go? Where did it go? Okay. So the Sufi saying, if any of us have the book, it appears opposite the page with the copyright information, the publication information. So if you're looking for it, that's where it is. So it's just turn the first couple of pages. And it says, I searched for myself and found only God. I searched for God and found only myself. I'm going to read it again. I searched for myself and found only God. I searched for God and found only myself. Yeah, if that doesn't, let us off the hook, another wisdom tradition says that enlightenment is merely a recognition. It's not a change at all. So it's very similar to the Sufi saying that the search for God is going to lead us beyond what's out there back to this one. And the search for what is this experience that I refer to as I? That search brings me beyond the particular and back into the all. And the introduction is really a reference to that idea that it requires that we both go inward, so the Vedantic path, the inward-facing path, and that we go outward, the tantric path, that we, and my personal experience is that it's not like I complete one, the inward, like, what is I? When I say I, to what does I am refer? It's not as if I complete that inquiry before I can move into what is this experience I call the world. What I found is that I do that internal kind of inquiry into self, and then that almost leads me into an outward, questioning. And the outward questioning, I kind of run up against some things that I can't quite leave my mind around. Like there's certain things that I'm working on, and I will talk about them. One of them is part of my purpose and function, I believe, which is to be the consciousness that a deeply encrusted form of separation. And just by witnessing something through consciousness, through being aware of being aware, it begins to loosen the hold that those thought forms, those collective thought forms have around certain topics and subjects. So I understand that part of this passion, just like Bill's passion is manifesting as a book club and so many other great things, each one of us is manifesting the expansion of consciousness as the passion is what we're bringing forth. Each and every one of us, we could each think about something that it was almost like we were born interested in it, or we've always had this curiosity, like, where did that come from? Well, it came with the package. It was God wanting to see itself, its own potential, as this particular intricate, one, discovering, uncovering, expanding in this particular way. So each of us, like I think Eckhart Tolle says something like, we are each here because we're the universe expanding itself. We're each here as the universe evolving. We are that through which this experience is evolving, and that's what I love about being with you, all of us. Because when I'm with all of us, I can access that presence so much easier than by myself. I bet you we all feel that way. Like around certain people, it's so much easier to just kind of rest in the presence, and it's an affirmation. So one of the things that I love in this introduction is it says, Rupert says that his first teacher, Dr. Francis Rolls, said to Rupert that the truth needs to be reformulated by every generation. It's not that the truth doesn't need to be, the truth is the truth, but the way we relate to it, the ways in which we express it, and the way we understand it, the access to it, each generation has another way of doing it. And I know that that's what we're doing right now. Like, that's what's kind of exciting about what we as a tribe are doing. We are reformulating the access that consciousness has to self through our very presence and beingness is a translation of reality into the truth. And so one of the things I'm translating is the consciousness around race that exists, the consciousness that currently exists around race, and how to be in a non-dual understanding of racial consciousness. And that's what this particular body mind is evolving. And I'm not the only one, but I'm just aware that that's my particular tantric offering.
Cool.
Yeah. So Bill, do you want to say anything while I locate the next things I want to talk about? Anything
Yes.
you want to say?
Yes, I do. My apologies to everyone. I actually muted you for about 10 seconds because I found a button that lets me mute everyone. And I clicked it, and your audio went off for about 10 seconds. My apologies.
Oh.
But that was a good thing because it allows me to like make everybody be quiet when they don't realize they come in with their audio on. So that was very helpful. On this, Sufi saying, I had the coolest experience with it, and I put a big circle around it because I searched for myself and found only God. I searched for God and found only myself. And when I read that, I felt like, wow, God, you know, it's like God's got my back, both sides, my front, and then I was like expanding that idea into like include Bill, the person Bill, and also the trees that were being seen and looked at. It just became a very big statement for me, coming from that old tradition of, you know, like God, like being somewhere else, but to have the God experience and to have it so simply stated in a 2-line sentence. That just, I just loved it. I've heard Rupert say it in his retreats, and it's just, it just marinates in your consciousness, your experience, and you're knowing that it's true.
Yeah. So I was looking at some of the chat, and one of the next things I wanted to mention, Jill in the chat talked about, and then William Price, that they love the image of the clouds over the blue sky, which is one of the metaphors that Rupert refers to in the introduction, and I wanted to mention that because I love that as well. So I'm going to just paraphrase what he says. So he's basically referring to the experience that we have, that it seems as if happiness is intermittent, and that the gray sky of all of our difficulties and the things we struggle with seems to be life. Life seems to be the difficulties and the struggles, and there are these intermittent moments. And so Rupert says, imagine the sky as a uniform expanse of gray cloud on an overcast day. At some point, a small patch of blue opens up, and then other small patches appear, and each of these patches of blue don't seem to be connected with each other, and it seems as if they're appearing and disappearing inside of this expanse of gray clouds, and that it's understandable at first that we would believe that the natural condition of the sky was this unlimited expanse of gray clouds, and that the patches of blue are what's limited and temporary. But he's saying when we begin to investigate these patches of blue, it becomes clear that the blue is in fact what's ever present, and it's the blue sky in which the gray clouds temporarily appear.
Hey, Freedom,
Yes.
hold on just a minute. I'm going to mute everyone and then turn your mic back on because something is happening that is disturbing everyone. Hold on.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. I've muted everyone. That seems to take that away. And now I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So for everybody who's, yeah, there was a screaming echo, and now Bill fixed it. So I'm on page 6 and 7 of the introduction to the book, and I was just reading through what Rupert was saying about the metaphor of the gray sky and the patches of blue, and that when we actually begin to examine these seeming intermittent patches of blue sky, what we find is that the peace and happiness that the blue sky is a symbol of is actually the basis of everything, including the gray, the expanse of gray. And I want to read this line. So it may seem at first that moments of peace and happiness briefly punctuate our natural state, which for most of us feels like lack and dissatisfaction, from which we're always in some form of reaction. We're either running away from it or we're trying to fight it. And then he's saying, if we make a deep investigation into the nature of our mind, that is, if the mind investigates its own essential nature, traveling back through the layers of thought, feeling, sensation, and perception until it reaches its own essential, irreducible reality, it will always find peace and fulfillment there. And you know, what strikes me about that is if we take any heavy event or any heavy state, you know, in my case, I've been applying this to the enslavement of Africans who are brought to America. So if I look at slavery, it's taken years of spending time in presence as Rupert says, as I peel back through the layers of thought, feeling, sensation, and perception. So what I've been doing in my own living is peeling back these layers of all the gray that has been covering the blue sky around these ideas about race and racial consciousness and freedom and enslavement. And at first, it might seem like there's no way through that. Like that's all gray. What joy or fulfillment could there possibly be in some of these very heavy events that have affected all of us? So whether it's slavery or there are lots of things that we've all experienced. And it's only if we're willing, like if I'm willing, and I use Rupert's yoga meditations for this because they're like putting a pan that you burnt stuff on, has burnt stuff. You have to put it into soak. Like if you scrub it, it still won't, the stuff won't come off, but you have to soak it and let the water soften the hardened, baked on stuff. And Rupert's yoga meditations have been allowing me without force. So force, I can't see beyond the clouds through force. It's this allowing, this peeling back and softening that has allowed me to begin to feel, experience that, and this is not rational, and I'm not trying to, I don't actually yet have the words for this experience I have. But for instance, I went to a lynching memorial museum where it was all about the lynching of African Americans. And as I went through this experience, I went as consciousness. So I was a witness of the consciousness that was present for these events. And I took that in and basically was like transmuting it or allowing the sensations and the feelings and the thoughts to soften and dissolve into the blue sky that existed prior to these actions. Meaning, what I mean is, everything is consciousness. When I looked for God, I found myself. When I looked for myself, I found God. Mother Teresa said, you know, I met God in all of its distressing disguises. That's what she was doing with people who no one would touch. It isn't that God's not there. It's that if I stop at the gray clouds, I can actually begin to believe that it's only gray clouds. And it takes enormous courage to be willing to look past the gray clouds, because they're very compelling. The stuff that we see, that we're exposed to in the world, is extremely compelling, and it presents an enormously compelling case for, you know, going out there and telling people they're wrong or they're bad, and for some people that is their path. But for those of us who are here, we are actually interested in the truth, which doesn't leave out anything. That's what's so cool about this. I don't have to ignore anything, but I do have to be willing to let all of the things, all the defenses that I have encrusted and called me, I have to be willing to let all of that be exposed to the light of awareness. And so it's just as powerful as it can be. And this introduction is complete, meaning it's a complete map. It's a complete explanation. It's a complete sharing of what's possible if we're willing to, and this takes time, even though there is no time. This takes time. It takes time to unravel what we have made up in the consciousness. It takes time to unravel it, and that's what my experience is. I'm still unfolding.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there was some great comments. You really do give some really good metaphors, Freedom, for the experience that's occurring, and also without losing sight of the truth that is really pervading all of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you, so I know that it's like a draw that you're being informed that this is Freedom's to do, mm-hmm. and you don't have an attachment, you don't have an agenda, you don't really know what you're doing, but you have. It's almost like what the Christians would call a calling. It's almost
Right.
like a calling, and it's a pull. Mooji would call it a pull.
Yes.
And I love that about you. I've watched you do that. I've watched you, and as I've watched myself have this experience of transformation and transmutation take place. That's what this freedom to
Yeah.
use that's what this is all about. And I love the way you express that. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. So there's one other paragraph I want to just read what Rupert says.
Good.
And because I don't want to forget to say this, I feel like I'm traveling in the footsteps of Viktor Frankl, who was, I believe he was in Auschwitz, and he chose to see the beauty. Like, he's determined to live through that experience so he could tell about it, and he chose to see the meaning and the beauty, and he transcended the experience by aligning with its meaning. And so if he can do it, I can do it. Like, that's how I feel. Like, every person I admire transcended their circumstances because they were more interested in the reality, in love. They were more interested in the love than they were in the circumstance. And that's the path that I am on. And so here's something that Rupert says in the introduction that speaks directly to what I'm interested in doing. Okay, so he says that it's important to recognize that this inward-facing path explored in this book is only half the journey. And I know that's true for all of us. Almost everyone on this call gets it. Like, we get the consciousness, we get awareness. That is half the journey. The other half is, for many of us, where things might get a little dicey. It does. It gets a little dicey. Trying to, when your body gets sick, or when your partner's body gets sick, it's not the same as just dwelling internally in consciousness. Then you have to start saying, well, what are the implications in the world? So he says that once the essential irreducible nature of the mind has been recognized, and I'm on page 10 in the introduction, and we've accessed this peace and joy, Rupert says it's necessary. He doesn't say it's optional. He said it's necessary to face outward toward what looks like objective experience and begin to realign the way we think and feel and act and perceive and relate with our new understanding. That's the journey. To take this,
Yes.
and begin to realign. The reason I don't want to attack the people who lynched people is because I'm realigning
Yes.
based on this understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says the culmination of the inward-facing path is the recognition, and I love when he uses these words, the presence, the primacy. That the primacy means the first and only, and the nature of awareness, or in religious language, spirit or God's infinite being, transcends all knowledge and experience. So that the culmination of the inward-facing path is the recognition that awareness is bigger. It encompasses everything I know and everything I experience. However, it's not yet the full experiential understanding in which awareness itself, or God's infinite being, is known and felt to pervade and saturate all knowledge and experience. And skipping to the next paragraph, Rupert says, and this is the paragraph I actually wanted to read, he says, if we don't integrate this understanding with our objective experience, so if I know consciousness, or I have tasted awareness, but I don't bring it out into my felt experience, he says, then a fragile alliance will persist between our essential irreducible nature of pure awareness and all objects and others. This often manifests as a denial or rejection of embodied life in the world, and may readily become a refuge for any lingering sense of a separate self. And to me, that's a call. That's a call to, like I heard Rupert talking with a person on a YouTube video who was attending one of his conferences, and they asked the question, how could consciousness allow child abuse? And this person was just like ripped to shreds. Their heart was just ripped. You could feel that they were just so upset. And they were like, how could consciousness allow this? And Rupert explained patiently how that is. And at the conclusion of his explanation, he said to them, once you have this understanding, it is your purpose and your honor and your obligation to live the implications of it. So this, what I love about, and Rupert is, he's on his path. He's doing his thing. This is how he's living the implications. But this isn't an intellectual exercise of like, gee, aren't we smart and aren't we so clever? This has nothing to do with being clever. This is actually a path of action, but not my action. This is a path of allowing the expansion of consciousness to take its shape and form through me, and in that way, for me to make right action in the world. And for someone like me, this is the most powerful, and the safest way for me to move forward. Safest because I won't harm others in the name of my personal upset, because I'm rooted in consciousness. I'm not rooted in the person. And so I feel like anyone who wants to make a difference in the world has to first understand that if they look for themselves, they're going to find God. And if they're looking for God, they're going to find themselves. And in that form of release, they will take right action.
Awesome. That was very, very well said. And
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for that.
you.
That was a beautiful explanation of how it all kind of fits, really. And there was a couple of comments. I noticed that someone was saying that Viktor Frankl actually chose to stay behind. He could have left. And that was interesting. And then this part, which is the very last page, I think, in the introduction, it's the page before the last, is almost like a warning label. Like, don't stop here. Don't stop here, because you'll be stuck here. And then he gives an explanation. And then he says at the very bottom, and I think William Price mentioned this, that the footnote says that the tantric tradition, the one of going out and including the activities of the world, experience of the world in this understanding, lies beyond the scope of this book.
Yeah. And
I'm really looking, when I saw that, I went, all right, book 2 is going to be happening. So,
yeah.
but that's sort of that's where I was before I met Rupert. When I first met Rupert, I went, I was the netty, I'm not this, I'm not that. And so I was really I had a pretty good handle on the I am and awareness as just a witness, but I didn't yet have the experience of including everything and also staying as the knowing of experience. That only came in for me from Rupert, and he has like in his retreats, it's almost like he has a system of delivery where on like the day 3, he brings you from one place into this other tantric experience, and that happened to me a couple of times on the last retreat, where we would come out of a meditation and all of a sudden I would fully understand and begin to, it's like the blue clouds or the blue sky, like opening wider in my experience. And that's what the value of following these books. It's not because you eventually throw the book away, but in the meantime, and I think he says it in this introduction, that for a little while, you will use a book or something to thin the veil or to move the clouds about so that the blue comes through.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying about using the book and about the reference to on the bottom of page 11 where he says to make a deeper exploration of this realignment, listen to his meditations, Transparent Body, Luminous World, because that's what I was talking about. I have both the book and the audio, so I will like sit in the tub, or even sometimes I go for a walk, but I will do those yoga, tantric yoga meditations because so much of my holding, like I have generations of fear, of fight, flight, freeze, of defense from the ancestral lineage of African Americans is living in this consciousness. So in order to loosen that, I soak, literally I soak in the tub, but I soak in these meditations because they're loosening these layers that have been laid down over, 3 centuries of slavery. I loosen these layers so that I can see the sky. And Rupert's books, as well as there are some other books that have the same quality. Rupert's books enter my consciousness on the level of my thinking mind. Simultaneously, the vibration of the book, I don't have the words to explain exactly what I'm saying, but the book itself has an energy. Like artwork, some artwork has that energy where you just look at it and you connect with it. Some books have this, I call it like a homing beacon. It's like you go into its tractor beam and the book itself contains the energy that the words are referring to. I'm reading the words, but I'm actually basking in the experience of the energy of the book itself. It's as if the person who wrote it was so deeply in presence that they were able to condense the presence into a form on a page. And when I interact with that form on the page, the presence expands from that form and engulfs my experience.
Yeah.
And Rupert's books and his meditations have that quality for me.
Yeah, for everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in the chat and sharing your expression, your feeling, your inspiration as freedom expresses from this place of truth that really just, it includes all of us. And as she uses her language words to express from there, or you all come in on the chat, we're all just really saturating ourselves with an agreement of this. Really, it's a process. Someone says, when do we stop seeking to find God? And it's almost like it's all of a sudden you realize that you are what God is. You realize that you're no longer seeking the truth, but you're recognizing, realizing, saturating yourself, and living in the experience of God.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's like the truth is seeking itself through you. And it's the difference between like fighting your way over the waves and riding the waves. There are going to be waves. Life is going to have its ups and downs. I don't care how good I get at any of this stuff. I still encounter turbulence. And the more quickly I can remember that I love that turbulence is God, the sooner I can just like soften and allow it, and very quickly I'm guided to the action that is most appropriate for me at that moment. And the coolest part about that is it doesn't involve me seeking approval from others, and therefore there's this enormous release and relief to it. I don't need to figure out if somebody else gets it or they agree with me. The agreement is the feeling. It's the release that I feel. And when I get that feeling, you know, I've moved from the little house, as I heard Rupert say one time. One of his teachers used to say, you know, when we are a body mind, we're living in the little house. And what we're all called for, what we all are here for, we are all being called to live in the big house, the only house, not this little house. That's why we love each other. That's why we love this feeling. That's why we want to talk about this. That's why there aren't enough books on the planet. We could never stop talking about this, because the house that we want to live in, this is how we enter the house. It's by like cultivating and enjoying and savoring and basking in this experience right now. We enter the house. And when we enter the house, we don't want to leave it. And when we feel we've been kicked out, we just find another way in, whether through a book, a meditation, a friend, going to a Rupert retreat, however we find our way back.
Yeah.
It's just exquisite.
Yes, it is.
It's a great life.
Yes.
It's a great life.
It is. And Timothy sort of, he really brought us back to a really important statement in this introduction, the prodigal son.
Oh, beautiful.
No one expresses the prodigal son story as clear as Rupert Spira. He brings it in this. Let's see, we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, go ahead, read that, Bill.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, Timothy.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, everybody. You guys I love you so much. This is so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It is really great.
So much fun.
It is the process. It's on page 5.
Okay, thanks.
And it says it is the process that is described in the story of the prodigal son, in which the son leaves the security and comfort of his father's kingdom, explores all the possibilities that the world or objective experience has to offer in terms of pleasure and satisfaction, and eventually realizes the futility of his search. Finally, he turns around towards the source of happiness, symbolized here by his father, which was in fact always available to him, but seemingly out of reach due to his exclusive fascination with the drama of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Right?
Bam.
That's totally bam.
Yeah.
And you know what I know we're running out of time. What I love about all of this, what I love about truth, is that truth never hurts. It's only the mind that says, if I go to the truth, I will be shown to be wrong or bad, or I should feel ashamed, which is what stopped the prodigal son from coming home. As he was heading home, he was like, I'm going to be punished. I'm going to be made to live with the servants. How could my father ever forgive me for what I did? But every time we turn to truth, we are met with boundless love. That's when I face the atrocities, that is the courage that I walk with. That when I actually look through that, what I'm met with, what I feel and see, is the boundless love. It's not the shame.
Yeah.
This story is so powerful. It's for every one of us. This is our story. Yeah. We have nothing to be ashamed of, and we have nothing to be afraid of.
Right. And everything to look forward to.
And everything to look forward to. And to just breathe. Just breathing into each and every experience we have. It's just leading us closer and closer to the big house. Yes. That glorious feeling of coming home.
Yes. Yes. Well, we're out of time. Thank you all for joining with us. We will use this link again next week. I like this platform very much. It's stable. I'm learning that we can do some things with it. I like it very much. We're going to use this same one again next week, and I'll see you all next Wednesday at 12 Eastern. Freedom. I love you like crazy.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I love you like cuckoo pants. I love you, everybody. Thank you
everyone
so much,
for joining with us, and we'll see
you.
you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.